Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, March 17th, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Also, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather-related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at the significant feature map across the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that cold front that was affecting sections of Jamaica for the past couple of days has now been pushed off towards the east, so it's now affecting portions of the northeastern Caribbean, and we can also see that it stretches all the way up into northern sections of the North Atlantic. And right behind that cold front we have high pressure ridge building across portions of the Greater Antilles, sending some amount of easterly trade winds into the western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. If we actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front stretching all the way from northern section of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the Leeward Islands. And we can also see some amount of clouds, leftover clouds from that cold front affecting portions of Haiti, Jamaica, portions of the Cayman Islands as well. We can also see that we have a line of clouds right here across portions of the southern and eastern US associated with another cold front. And considering that we're going to be receiving an easterly flow from that high pressure ridge, more clouds and moisture associated with that cold front should be making its way westward to bring more rainfall across the island of Jamaica this weekend. We'll be talking more about the weather across the entire Caribbean region later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made yesterday for today's weather. It was stated in yesterday's post that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of eastern Jamaica in the morning, then spilling into sections of central and western Jamaica, both on the northern and southern coast, during the afternoon hours. And what ended up happening? A post was made at 7:36 a.m. this morning highlighting some clouds bringing overcast skies and rainfall to sections of eastern Jamaica. Not only even eastern Jamaica, but sections of some northern parishes gotten on some of that rainfall as well. So sections of Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland and St. Thomas gotten on some of that rainfall. Skipping ahead to about 2:51 p.m. we can see that we had a buildup of clouds and rainfall across sections of especially northern and western Jamaica. We actually had rainfall across most areas until it cleared up in some spots. We even had some afternoon rainfall across sections of St. Catherine in Portmore right there. If you actually take a look at the comment from our viewers or followers, we can see that we had confirmation of the rainfall. This person stating right now, we got rain in East Rural St. Andrew. Janice J stating, thanks for the update, overcast skies in Cherry Gardens. Sonia stating, we're getting rain right now in Red Hills area. And Lamone Rakes posting a GIF right there, highlighting that they are receiving rain at that time. Looking over at our Instagram page, we had Cami Mac stating, raining from Wednesday in St. Mary. Shocks stating, raining from morning in St. Mary. Big Girl Energy stating, outside black like midnight. Looking at another post on the Instagram, we can see that the real Mitchie Nature stated, about to get nailed by the looks of the sky right now. The Living Daylight JA stating, Porty finally I get rain. Our Ledge stating, heavy rainfall in Hanover as well. So we indeed got some confirmation of the rainfall across the island today, and we should be receiving some more tomorrow. If you actually take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see that yes, we had that buildup of clouds and we had more of a southeasterly low level flow across the island, and we can also see that high level cloud being pushed off towards the east, just as what we stated by all of that wind shear. So we indeed got some amount of rainfall. We even had some amount of cloud cover across portions of eastern Jamaica, even into the evening hours, as well as portions of northern Jamaica as well. If we actually take a look at the infrared satellite images, we can also see that we had some amount of thunder clouds wherever we had that wind shear. More than likely that would have been where we had that cloud building up into the upper levels of the atmosphere and formulating cumulonimbus clouds, and we had that across especially western parishes, so sections of maybe northern Westmoreland, portions of Hanover, portions of St. James got in on some of that, and we can also see those sparkling white dots that are indicative of some amount of lightning flashes in those spots as well to confirm the thunderstorm activity. If we actually take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website's accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can see that yes, for the most part, most areas got some amount of rainfall across the area for today. If we actually take a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 22 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, and as the night progresses, the temperatures usually get lower. Let's talk temperatures for tomorrow. These two maps are showing 18Z on Saturday. That's 1 p.m. on Saturday by both the Euro and the GFS. And what do we see? We see that Jamaica is embedded in some slight blue colors. And if we actually take a look at the key right here, that's indicative of at least 1 degree Celsius below average temperature. And we know that when we have consensus on both maps, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So, what are the average temperatures for the month of March? About 87 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we calculate that on the thermometer, 87 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as about 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. And if we're going to be getting 1 degree Celsius below average temperatures for tomorrow across the island, it should be anywhere from, let's say, 28 to 30 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. Moving on to the dry air map, we can see that on the key at the bottom, the dry air is most intense in the reds and whites within those reds. And where do we see the driest air right now? Across portions of the western Gulf of Mexico, as well as portions of the waters to the west of Africa right there. We can see some yellows and some blues that are indicative of less dry air or more moist air. And it makes sense that we would have more moist air across the areas that we have those clouds, all courtesy of that cold front, so the northeastern Caribbean, stretching all the way into portions of Haiti, Jamaica, and the Cayman Islands. So we have a lot of moisture still to receive coming up. If you actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, this map is showing 2 p.m. on Saturday, and we can see that for the most part, Jamaica is in the clear, with all the browns associated with the Saharan dust across portions of the main development region and Jamaica and Africa. Alright, so let us take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow. We can see that for 12 p.m. on Saturday, both the Euro and the GFS models are showing that Jamaica will be surrounded by, let's say, anywhere from 1.5 meter wave heights or less. And this is all courtesy of the wind flow that we'll be getting for tomorrow. So we'll be getting more of a southeasterly wind flow across the island tomorrow, as indicated by both the Euro and the GFS models. You know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So if there's some rainfall that should come in from the southeast, more than likely the areas on the south coast will be getting in on some of that rainfall first. So maybe St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth might get in on that rainfall first before it pushes off towards the northwest to affect sections of some northern parishes. And the winds seem to be up into the 10 to almost 20 knot range. We know that 20 or more are indicated by the yellows within those greens. So for the most part, Jamaica is getting some amount of 10 to 20 knot winds at most. We can see that the blues indicate the least amount of winds, and that's usually where the air piles up. And what usually happens when we have that air piling up with all the least amount of winds across the island, we usually have some amount of afternoon convection. So there is a high chance of some afternoon rainfall across portions of some northern, especially northwestern parishes. So maybe Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne might get in on some of that afternoon convection. and the wind shear seems to be coming more from the west or the slight west northwest. So we know that if we're going to be having some amount of cumulonimbus clouds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, all of those will be blown off towards the east or the east southeast. If you actually take a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we have some amount of rainfall, as a matter of fact, for tonight on Friday night. This map is showing 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we know that that's the same as 10 p.m. Jamaica time. We see some blues across portions of eastern Jamaica, St. Thomas, Portland on the Euro and the GFS models. So we might get in on some more rainfall across those spots for tonight. Skipping ahead to 2 hours later, at 12 a.m. we can still see those blues across St. Thomas and Portland on the Euro. The GFS has more of the blues to the south of the island, so it's showing portions of coastal areas of Clarendon, St. Catherine, and St. Thomas still to get rainfall. But we know that the models usually work best when there's consensus. And we see consensus or agreement across portions of eastern Jamaica. So maybe the St. Thomas thing might still be in play. Moving ahead to about 2 p.m. tomorrow. Look at all of those colors that we see on the Euro model. Lots of rainfall being forecasted by the Euro, but the GFS is not that robust. This is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we know that when we calculate that, that's about 1 p.m. Jamaica time. We can see that we have more blues on the GFS across portions of northern and western Jamaica, and this would make sense considering the flow of winds from the southeast and where we would have that buildup of clouds in the afternoon hours. The Euro is showing a lot of colors across portions of eastern Jamaica. It would make sense that we still have some more clouds coming off the sea from the southeast from the leftover clouds by that cold front. Yes, moving ahead to about 3 p.m. on Saturday now, we can see that the GFS is starting to have more agreement with what the Euro is saying, showing more blues across portions of southern and eastern Jamaica, which means that we're going to be getting some more rainfall coming in from the southeast to affect sections of some southern parishes, so maybe Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. So now that we have consensus on the southeastern side on both maps, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. And we can still see that we have some more blues across portions of northern Jamaica during those times at 3 p.m. So if you have plans to get the laundry done tomorrow, try to get that done early. And if you have plans to go out tomorrow, try to bring your rain gear. If you actually take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, as usual, the Euro model is more robust than the GFS. The Euro is showing more reds that are indicative of at least 1 or more inch of rainfall across portions of the island. But where do we have the consensus? Where do we have the agreement on both models? We have the agreement across portions of St. Thomas right there, and it makes sense considering the southeasterly flow. And 1 inch of rain is a lot, especially if we get it all at once. But the thing is, these maps are showing all the rainfall that we're expected to get from now up until 3 on Sunday. When we calculate that, that's about 10 p.m. on Saturday night. So all the rainfall, not all at once, but over the next 24 hours. Moving on, we can see that the average rainfall for the month of March is up to 87 millimeters of rainfall at most. It's one of the lowest for the entire year. So the fact that we're getting so much rain right now, it's actually a blessing. Hopefully we don't have a drought, especially with the predictions of a possible El Nino. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's talk some more about the weather across the Caribbean. So as stated, we can see that we have a lot of clouds across portions of northeastern Caribbean, so the Leeward Islands. So we have some amount of clouds bringing some amount of rainfall across portions of Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Barts, St. Kitts and Nevis, maybe even Guadeloupe, getting on some of that rainfall as well. Sections of Montserrat, The US and British Virgin Islands as well as portions of Puerto Rico might have been getting in on some of that rainfall as well. Sections of Haiti getting in on some of that rainfall. Sections of the southern and eastern United States getting in on some of those clouds and rainfall. We can see some buildup of clouds across portions of Costa Rica and Colombia as usual. If you actually take a look at the Doppler radar images, we know that Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall over a specific area as opposed to satellite images that show only cloud cover. If you actually put these images into motion, we can see that we have those greens that represent rainfall across those very spots that were just mentioned: St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, St. John's, Guadeloupe. And this Doppler radar image is showing all the rainfall that they've been receiving from about 2 p.m. today. So they've been getting some amount of rainfall by the clouds associated with that cold front. If you actually take a look at the Barbados radar, for the most part, there isn't much to show. We can see some stray showers right there off to the far northeast, and we can see some stray showers right there off to the far south, maybe affecting portions of Tobago and maybe even Trinidad right there. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see some amount of rainfall across portions of Colombia, which matches the satellite images, and we can also see some amount of rainfall right there across portions of Guatemala and Honduras. If we actually take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, the warmest air that's indicated by the yellows and the oranges that signal above normal temperatures will be across portions of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, Mexico, and Honduras, while we'll be receiving average or below average temperatures across portions of the Turks and Caicos, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, majority of the Eastern Caribbean, portion of the Southern Caribbean, including northern sections of Venezuela, as well as the ABC Islands, Colombia, Panama. We can see that a lot of dark blues and greens across portions of the United States right there, associated with the back part of that cold front that we mentioned earlier. And we have consensus on both the Euro and the GFS models, and we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. If we actually take a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that by 2 p.m. on Saturday, we have little to no Saharan dust across majority of the Caribbean. All the dust is right there across portions of French Guiana, the main development region, and Africa. Looking at the wave forecast for tomorrow, 12 p.m. tomorrow, we see some amount of colors. We see some at least 2.5 or more meter wave height. Where do we see it? We see it right there across portions of Puerto Rico, majority of the northeastern Caribbean islands, and we see it also on the GFS models. We know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. And if you actually take a look at the wind forecast, we can see this is the reason for those high wave heights, that high pressure ridge that's sending all of that trade wind across the area. So we can see those yellows that indicate at least up to 25 to 30 knot winds across those spots. And we know that when we have consensus like this on both the Euro and the GFS models, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Moving on to the rain forecast for the next 24 hours. Both these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z on Sunday. That's actually all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday night. Keeping in mind that this is not all the rainfall that's expected all at once, but over the next 24 hours. And we can see even up to 1 inch of rainfall across those very spots that are being affected by that cold front that were just mentioned. Even areas south of there, so Guadeloupe, Dominica might get in on some of that rainfall as well, maybe even triggering some amount of isolated flash flooding. We can see that rainfall across portions of not only Jamaica, but portions of Cuba, the Cayman Islands. We can also see, if we move southward, some rainfall, but not up to 1 inch across portions of Nicaragua and Honduras, maybe up to 1 inch across portions of Panama and Costa Rica, as well as portions of Colombia. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. And we know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. We can also see some amount of rainfall right there on the GFS model across portions of Guyana as well. Moving on to the western portion of the area, we can see that we have some amount of rainfall right there by that next cold front across portion of the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So the ships that are out there, please try to take necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected by the bad weather that's expected. We can see some amount of rainfall, even up to an inch of rainfall across areas of Mexico. Even portions of Belize expected to get rainfall, but not that much because it's not that drastic on both models. We only see up to, let's say, 0.3 of an inch of rainfall across portions of Belize. On the Euro, the GFS is a bit more robust, so we shall see which one of those wins with the more or most rainfall. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching.